Just got back from seeing the new Ridley Scott movie starring Joaquin Phoenix, Napoleon. Now, I've been a big fan of Napoleon for a long time, history buff sort of way. Uh, Considered him a major historical figure of interest from a fairly young age. Haven't been as interested in his time period for a while. Might get back into reviewing that. And Joaquin Phoenix, I think, is a phenomenal actor. I've actually kind of been rediscovering his catalog ever since I watched Joker, realizing that he's in a lot of things I did not know. And so far, pretty much everything I've seen, I've liked. So, this is a movie I walked in wanting to love, and I ended up liking it. For the most part, it's a very ambitious story and trying to tell it in the terms of the amount of time available to tell it is to say it's at least overambitious. Keep in mind that this movie is directed by Ridley Scott, and I would say there are parallels to the movie Gladiator. Gladiator is a story inspired by real life major historical figures like Marcus Aurelius and Emperor Commodius. If you walked into that movie not knowing anything about those historical figures, you could probably just enjoy the spectacle of what was being put on in front of you. If you knew who these people are and were expecting to see something that would teach you, you'd probably be a little bit disappointed. If you're a big Marcus Aurelius fan and you're expecting a biopic of him, you're probably going to be kind of upset. The movie Napoleon is to the person Napoleon is similar in vein as Gladiator is to Marcus Aurelius. Boy, I'm having trouble with that tonight. Aurelius, you know who I'm saying. Napoleon is far more accurate than Gladiator, but is no way attempting to give you the real Napoleon and all the history behind him. The movie Napoleon hits the high points of Napoleon's life and then sketches elements of those events that occurred. Joaquin Phoenix does a good job acting, as I'd expect. Now, Napoleon as a character in other movies is typically depicted as either extremely stoic or rather mercurial. If you're hard set on expecting Napoleon to act that way, Joaquin's going to have some moments for you that are kind of jolting. At points, he's very lovesick and vulnerable. At other points, he's sexually voracious. These aspects really don't seem to be that far away from a realistic interpretation of how Napoleon might have been, considering if we look at his letters between him and Josephine. And just to make a note on that, Vanessa Kirby as Josephine is fantastic. She really held up her end of the movie for sure. The story of Napoleon is intertwined segments alternating between his relationship with Josephine and his climb to political power. There are points in the movie where Napoleon reacts to things going on with Josephine, where in real life it was far more likely that he was reacting to political events. Two such incidents in the movie are Napoleon's decisions to leave Egypt and also Elba. The overall look of everything is very good. CGI is used in only a very limited way, and really only one scene was extremely obvious. But it was a very quick thing, and it was somewhat necessary to do it as CGI. The scenes occurring in revolutionary France and the political intrigue going on inside the Directory and other critical locations around Paris all look very good. Many of the street scenes and inside the building scenes are very immersive. They are very heavy on extras to fill out the scene. The costuming and the look of things will pull you in. You'll definitely feel like you're there in those scenes. Now, when we get to the Battle of Austerlitz, If you knew nothing about it, you would probably find the sequence very enthralling. It's a large battle set scene with many extras, very little CGI. The military movements, the cannonade, the pyrotechnics all look really good. However, it is elements of the battle being presented to you, so you get an idea of the brilliance of Napoleon. It's not a play by play of the original battle, nor does it give you all the tactical twists and turns. The foray into Russia gives us a hint of the Cossack action, but doesn't really give you a feel for the depth of the Russian campaign. The Battle of Borodino is pretty quickly glossed over. On the contrary, their entry into Moscow is absolutely magnificent. Uh, the French army finding the entire city deserted is really well depicted, and I really can't think of another depiction in a movie that comes close to capturing this event in a meaningful way. Now, Waterloo ends up probably being one of the more disappointing portions of the movie. There just isn't enough time to do it justice. And you even feel that as you're going into it, saying, well, there can't be a whole lot of this movie left, and this is a big event. So this probably isn't going to happen well. Once again, there's elements of Waterloo in the depiction. There are infantry charges, cannonades, cavalry charges, and infantry squares, and finally the Prussians arriving to turn the tide. But the sequencing of these elements is not historical. The ambience and the look of the battle are good. If you know nothing of its historical execution, you might be able to watch it without any issue. If you know the Waterloo battle well, you're going to be taken out of the scene pretty heavily. There is some scuttlebutt about the supposed cucking of Napoleon that I've been seeing popping up in other videos. Josephine did have at least one high profile affair while Napoleon was in Egypt. Whether it was actually consummated or if it was just heavy flirting, we don't entirely know. Her sexual exploits, both real and imagined, were the constant fodder of gossip around Paris. Tsar Alexander did actually extend his royal protection to Josephine while Napoleon was in exile in Elba. The movie hints that there may have been some sort of tryst evolving out of this. This would be really unlikely historically, and the movie doesn't cement that it actually happened, but it's inferred because the Paris newspapers pick up the potential scandal. Now, my wife took major issue with the accents in the movie. Most of the actors depicting French characters are British and use a British accent. Joaquin uses his normal speaking voice for the role. Now, accents never bother me, so I didn't notice it at all. The only way accents bother me is when an actor is clearly faking an accent and doing it really badly. Uh, One issue at the end that I found a little irksome is that Ridley Scott felt the need to place a death tally sheet for the amount of casualties that occurred under the armies commanded by Napoleon. Now, the English have been rather hyperbolic when it comes to their depictions of Napoleon. They frequently depict him as the first coming of the leader of Nazi Germany, and there's truly no real comparison there. Frankly, I suspect the English feigned such anger at Napoleon because deep down they realized they were the bad guys of the Napoleonic War era. If you go to this movie with high expectations, they are likely to be dashed. The same is true if you're expecting a meticulously accurate biopic. Now, if you're looking for a good period piece with realistic epic battles, you may be in for a treat. If you like Joaquin Phoenix, he will deliver a decent performance for you. So tell me in the comment section below, Have you seen Napoleon? What do you think of it? If you are spoiling anything, I mean, I know it's historical, but if you are spoiling anything, warn people you're spoiling. If you're not going to see it, let me know as well, and tell me if you haven't seen it yet, whether this review is making you more likely to see it or more like not likely to see it. Please smash the like button. If the YouTube algorithm brought you here and you're not a regular subscriber, please check out my other titles. I go over a lot of different things ranging from history to reviews to current events, politics, all kinds of stuff. You're likely to find something you like. If so, please subscribe. And if you know someone who might find this interesting, please share it with them. Thank you for spending time with me this evening. Hope to see you again in a future video.